achieved up to 2030 can be achieved. So what we are here to discuss about the role of digital education or technology or ICT. Here, I just wanted to say that why there is a need first is of sustainability education. We all know that we are facing global problems related to environment and sustainability, whether we talk about climate change, whether we talk about degradation of land resources, water resources, our ocean resources, whether it is about the consumption patterns of mineral resources or other natural resources, whether we talk about the type of waste generated, biodiversity loss, depletion of natural resources, so on and so forth. So there are many environmental challenges, many sustainable challenges we are facing. And for that, I will not go into detail about how this environmental education or education for sustainable development has come into the picture. But we all know about the various conferences, whether it is a 1992 conference of Rio de Janeiro or World Sustainable Development Conference, Rio Plus 20 conference, how the Agenda 21 talks about the sustainable development, basically where the sustainable development has originated, or how this Millennium Development Goal, Millennium Summit, or Sustainable Development Summit has evolved, and all these 17 Sustainable Development Goals came into picture. We all know about the 8 millennium people who are not having the access to internet connection. They are not having access to technology. They are not having even access to education. So there is a technical divide. At the same time, there are when we talk about the digital education, there are, when we talk about in 1980, the digital education or is about the remote access of the material. It is accessible to only few researchers, few scientists. Then in 1980 or 2000, when we say that there was a boom of internet, all the web resources were available, there were partnership. But now there are so much of the things which has come due to evolution of IIT, ICT. There is a paradigm shift because of this digital evolution. There is, when we talk about, there are so many things. There are artificial intelligence, blockchain technology. We talk about the simulation model. We talk about the virtual labs, virtual reality, and so on and so forth. At the same time, there are the areas where there is internet is not available, where there are other resources are not available. So here I will be discussing about the sustainable education, how the digital solution for not for providing quality education, about the accessibility, about education to each and everyone, whether they are from marginalized section, whether there is related to what you say that people living in rural areas or study center. It has reached to more than 23 countries outside the world. It is a pioneer institution, Central University, which provide the open and distance education. But as we have witnessed during the COVID time, most of the universities, or especially school education, they had to shift toward the digital education. They have to provide the education to the student who are during lockdown, who the student are their home. The teachers have struggled a lot to provide the education through their smartphone, either through YouTube or any other kind of WhatsApp and other thing. In that time, Indira Gandhi National Open University has provided quality education through online portal to millions of the students. In Indira Gandhi Open University, there are, if we talk about the open and distance learning courses, there are more than 250 courses, which are from degree to MA, BA, there are certificate level program, there are diploma level program, there are awareness program. But recently, IGNOU has launched more than 35 online programs. The IGNOU is offering more than 151 Swayam courses. You might all have heard about the new education policy. New education policy talks about multidisciplinary education. It talks about holistic education. It talks about the integration of technology into various aspects of education. In that, Ministry of Education has started many schemes, whether it is Swayam platform, that is massive open online courses, or Swayam Prabha channels, which provides the educational resources. See, EIMT, that is for information and communication technology. Likewise, there are many programs or many policies which has been launched by Ministry of Education. In that line, IGNOU is offering many Swayam program, that is more than 151 program. We are having our own learner management system and offering the program through our management system. So in this context, there are academic bank. You all have heard about the transfer of academic credit or academic credit bank. We are having many courses which are taken by more than 121 universities, different courses which are related to sustainability science education. But before that, I just wanted to tell you that this is not just now that IGNOU has started sustainability education through online learning, but in 2005, which is decade of education for sustainable development, in that time, in 2007, IGNOU has established a chair for sustainable development. The chair for sustainable development was the honorary chair for this chair for sustainable development was MS Swaminathan sir, who is also known as father of green revolution in India. He has, under his chairmanship, the IGNOU has launched many online programs which are basically awareness program on sustainable management of biodiversity, awareness program of leadership, nutrition and population and sustainable development, climate change, ecosystem and natural resources. Likewise, at that time, PG certificate in climate change, PG diploma in sustainability science, all these program was launched in 2007 to 2012 when there was decade of ecosystem, decade for sustainable development. Now, at present, if you see, we are offering the program through online mode as well as ODL mode, that is PG diploma in sustainability science, PG diploma is environment and sustainable development, masters in sustainability science, masters in environmental science. When we talk about the online program, in these online program, the 4-quadrant system or 4-quadrant approach has been followed. These 4-quadrant approach is that in almost all the MOOC program, there are 40 video lectures that has been uploaded. There is a discussion forum, there is assessment, online assessment, there is uploading of the specified study material, OER, etc. So IGNOU has taken a big lead in offering the online programs, whether these are MOOC. IGNOU has having its own 4 Swayam Prabha channels. In these Swayam Prabha channels, daily from 24/7, educational resources, whether it's related to any field, whether it is related to gender, whether it is related to disability studies, migration and diasporas, sociology, economics, or any other subjects, 24/7, the educational resources are being broadcasted. Likewise, IGNOU is also having its own e-Gyan Kosh, that is a digital library where all the e-content of the resources is available. More than, I can say, thousands of resources are available in this e-Gyan Kosh lab, e-Gyan Kosh resources. Likewise, in Swayam channel, Swayam Prabha channel, or digital video library, IGNOU is having the e-resources which is telecasted through Gyan Darshan. Likewise, there is IRC, integrated radio channel. So what I mean to say that when we talk about the online education, there are many methods. Multimedia approach can be adopted to provide the quality education to each and everyone. So this is few things which I wanted to share. So basically, when we say that new education policy, we always say that there are 5 pillars: access, affordability, equality, quality, and accountability. So equal access to education to each and everyone, marginalized section, disabled, whether they are from any stream, that can be provided. So because the session deals with the recommendation related how the digital solution can be provided for sustainability education, so few of the recommendation I would like to discuss with you. The first and foremost thing is broadening access to digital device. So during this lockdown, we all have observed that there is lack of accessibility of these digital instrument of equipment to everyone. Like there are many teachers who are having the smartphone, laptop, iPhone, or other things, but there are many students or many kids who are not having. So there is a need to broadening access to digital device. The second is enabling access to relevant organized content. Lot of content is available into the open portal, but there is a need to identify the relevant content which is really a quality content can be made available to everyone. There is creating user community for support network who can share the resources. We know now about the open education resources. Quality education resources can be shared within the community. There may be creating awareness among stakeholder. And the main thing is that expanding the training and practice opportunity to each and everyone, whether they are teacher or student. So three things I would say, whether it is we can work on the equipment, we can work on the enability or experiment. When we say equipping is ICT infrastructure device and data access. The second is content creation and organization. And third one is platform or data informatics. When we say the enable, that each and every stakeholder can be made aware, the training can be provided to each and everyone, and how to integrate the digital tools into their learning material, into their teaching and learning, and how the community can be engaged with digital education. The experiment can be done on the blended learning, because it is not possible or it is not feasible for completely online mode. So there can be models can be developed where blended learning can be used, where the certain portion can be through face to face, or certain thing where can be demonstrated whether through its virtual reality or simulated model or any other mean by the to the student. Then there is a need for innovation, compilation of these innovation for the digital education in the sustainability. And last and not the least, that we need to have teaching learning method need to be evolved, need to be contemporary, so that quality education can be accessed by each and everyone. So with this word, I will conclude that there is a need for evolution or further evolution of digital education for digital means, transformation of digital means for sustainability education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very elaborative. And we know that technological revolution is on the doorstep. 4.0 revolution is coming. And the business avenues have changed, employment avenues have changed. And so the education also needs to change according to the demands of the 21st century, because the skills which are required for 21st century are communication skills, creativity, problem solving, and so on. So for that, we need to take help of our digital devices. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to request our next panelist, Professor R. Jayashankarji. Sir, I would like to introduce you first to our delegates. Professor Jayashankar R. Nair is a professor at School of Informatics, the first digital university, Kerala. He is the coordinator of the C.V. Raman Laboratory of Ecological Informatics. Sir calls himself as ecological physicist who seeks to understand terrestrial ecological processes from a physicist perspective. He says that electromagnetic and mechanical waves serves as a useful means of understanding ecological processes and characterizing. I think you have introduced the domain floral radiometry by integrating remote sensing and color science. That is very interesting, sir. Look forward to listen to you more on the upcoming digital solutions so that we are able to impart sustainability education at all levels. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful introduction that you have given me. Well, I basically teach for a living. Now, since you have called me for a lecture and you have called by mistake, I will say the organizers have called by mistake a professor, I tend to ask more questions than I speak. Right? So whenever I stand in front of any dais, whether it is anywhere in the world, I tend to ask more questions. So please bear with me. Well, in fact, in the beginning itself, Madam has covered an entire swath of all technological developments. So I'll take you on a lesser, what do you call, a lesser rigorous course. Now, I'll start with the question. Well, why are we all sitting here and discussing this? Can anyone in the audience explain? Well, the question is open to even panelists. But why are we all sitting here and discussing about this thing? Well, essentially the problem is of sustainability and we still don't have an answer anywhere nearby. So we are just beating around the bush. Now, I'll just ask you to think far back in time. Let us see why we have failed. Right? I'm sorry if I'm not taking a class here, but I'll start my talk like this and I'll gradually come on to that. Right? So let us see why we have failed. Or to put the questions, well, yesterday evening I was told that I should speak something like this. So I was not much prepared for that. So I just spent a couple of hours and noted down whatever I could speak here. We call ourselves the wise, right? Homo sapiens. Sapiens stands for wise. Are we really wise? Or are we Homo stutulens? There is a word called Latin, the opposite of sapiens in Latin is stutulens, it seems. That is foolish. So are we Homo sapiens or Homo stutulens? So the same question that I asked you. If you just go back in time, say, let us go back to around 3,000, 4,000 years back. Well, I personally believe that we have done two cardinal mistakes during the process of evolution. But evolution was, well, I believe all of you understand those things here, no? Or I'm not speaking to an audience which is not catered. I thought the audience would be more of IT guys or IT background and all. If that is the case, I have to explain a bit about that. Well, cut a long story short, evolution is a consequence of many probabilities, of which one in a millionth of thing would have happened. Well, certainly I believe that during the course of evolution, somebody would have fitted two eyes behind. Why should we have two eyes on the front side? One could be here, one could be here, so that we could have secured ourselves better. Right? So every experiment was done. If you go back and study evolutionary history, you find that when animals or organisms evolved over time, we have tested almost everything, and somehow something that survived the best, or the survival of fittest, as we call it. The best options, the fittest options were taken forward, and the other ones were dropped behind. Right? So today we know where we are, but even in that, well, these are not textbook things. These are just what you call things that have come to my mind. I personally believe that we have made two cardinal mistakes, which had we done, which if it were done in a different course, we would not be sitting here and discussing about sustainability at all. Any idea what that could be? Well, I know I have limited time, so I'll not wait for an answer. We abandoned our arboreal habitats. That means, in other words, we climbed down the trees. Our great ancestors who used to wander on top of trees, they came down, they settled at one place, and then they did the biggest mistake. They started investing in nature to extract returns. We call it agriculture. The primitive agriculture was that somebody found that, well, if this particular seed could be thrown out, it grew up into another plant and that provided food for them. That means knowingly or unknowingly, Our great ancestors started investing in nature to extract returns. This is what we have been doing, and we have reached here. This extract, investing and extracting, investing and extracting, right? Now, over a further period of time, when certainly food was assured, adequate food was assured, what happened? The population gradually increased, right? So then we had to exchange things. Therein therein it was not biological, basically, it is mostly a social mistake. That is, we created money. Well, can you imagine a world without money today? The competition, the moment money was introduced, the competition was between wealth and money, and we always know that money wins at the cost of wealth, right? So again, these are the two, that could be many other reasons, well, that we can think about, but I believe that these are the two fundamental mistakes that has happened over the period of evolution, over long periods of time, and none of which can be rectified now. I cannot climb back trees. Certainly, my body will not allow me. I cannot go back to arboreal habitat. I cannot live in a world without money. Money in the sense, as we understand money today. Well, there could be theoretical answers to that. Now, from there, yeah, since we have been living in a world dominated by money, well, you can put it in other terms, corporates and all those things. There are certain good advantages of that. We have progressed a lot. Our life has become very easy. But today, over so many generations, what has happened is that we are wired to be unsustainable. Human life on this planet is essentially unsustainable. You just cannot make it sustainable under the present context. Otherwise, you have to change the whole system. Well, I recall the statement of Albert Einstein. It's very famous statement, which I believe all of you would be aware of, that no solution exists to a problem which was created in the given circumstances. That means, if under a given circumstances, if a problem has precipitated, the solution will not be there in the circumstances. You will have to change the circumstances. Now, this is what you have been hearing outside, like behavioral change, attitude change, all the things that we have been saying. This is the whole story. I'm trying to put it in a very, what you call, layman's language, so that you understand what I'm speaking. Now, to undo whatever has been done, education, well, that's what we know today. Might be there could be something else which some super genius may bring out one day. But as of now, as on day to day, we know that education is the most potent and most transformative tool that we have on this planet. Well, I don't know how education has transformed me. Can you say how education has transformed you? I still drive a car to my office. I drive alone in that, and I'm sitting here to preach sustainability. Right? This is the way that we are living. So we are living in a world where we're contradicting our own statements in life. That's because, as I said, we are wired to do that. We don't have alternatives. Then there can be n number of reasons that I can give to say why I am driving to office. I am not taking a public transport and all. There is an excuse for everything that we say. Now, education has to be transformative. It has to transform the system as such, as well as the education process also has to change. That means we became unsustainable in this given set of conditions, wherein one of that is the education system, where a student is only interested to write and score marks. Well, today morning when I picked up the newspaper, I saw that, well, what is that? NEET ranks are there. The front page is covered with advertisements of all what you call coaching centers. So we are in a world which is entirely different, which is on a different trajectory, and we look out of the window and say that, well, that is the world they are aspiring for. But we have to go back. We have to go back in time, and at least theoretically in time, and come back to that. That's where the solution to that will. And then, yeah, the transform the education and transform the world. Again, here itself, when we say about education, Madam has told a lot of things about digital solutions, digital possibilities. Well, technology is not a hindrance. Today, we are living in an era when the rate of change of technology is much faster than our own progression rate. But it's very rightly said that technology has a shelf life of a banana. So hardly it lasts for 4 or 5 days. Another new technology comes up and takes over. So technology actually is not a hurdle. There are solutions for that. But why should, as if I'm a student, why should I study? What is the motive for me to study? You can take a horse to water, no? But you cannot make it drink. So left alone, if I am a student, why should I study? That's a fundamental question that I ask. I study because, well, my parents sent me to school. There is a system in place. I had to study, mug up something, write some exams, score marks. Well, that's a system that is outdated, which I believe we should throw away, and we should not have exams at all in the course, because then the students who are really interested, who are genuinely interested, even if that is less than 10% of the total population of students studying, will come forward. And then as it's applicable for every sector, there are early adopters, innovators, early adopters, late majority, and, well, the laggards. So everyone in the due course will follow that. Otherwise we cannot. And again, if you say that the rule that was said earlier was 2080, which I believe is recently getting corrected to 3027 or something, 27, or say 3070, like that, because 20% of people or the population ruin or consume all resources. Now that China and India has grown up over the last 10-20 years, this 20% has slightly increased. It's around 30 now. So 30% of the global population is making the world unsustainable. And we say that we want to go and teach everybody in the remotest part of the world to become sustainable. Actually, what we need to do is the first and initial focus of sustainability education should be concentrated on urban centers where we are highly, highly unsustainable. Then what we need to teach the folks saying outside is they should be taught about resilience, because anyway our action is going to cause changes on their lifestyle. We have entered in a world of non-linearity. Nothing can be predicted. Well, last year we say that, well, if there are monsoon period starts from June to September, well, there's no guarantee that it's going to rain in June or September. The whole rains may come down in 2 weeks. That means all the systems in nature have become non-linear. What we need is non-linear management strategies to drive out of this. For that, technology is a very good solution, what to call it, support mechanism, because non-linearity can be broken down into, well, I'm just entering into some theoretical aspect. Non-linearity can be broken down into very fine sections of linearity, and their technology can help us. That means instead of having 1 month prediction, you say one week prediction, 1 day prediction, 1 hour prediction, like that. You narrow the time and you get a prediction. For that, you need real-time synergy systems to work, for which technology is the best option that we have today. Now, while coming to this conference, again, I was told that the objectives of the conference basically were to have, well, I believe all of you would have seen through this paper, right? There are 4 objectives that were stated. And basically, I felt that as a part of this session, we have to propose some or ideate programs or campaigns. That is one of the objectives. Well, I believe all of you have this paper, or if you don't have, I'll just read it out for you. The specific objectives of this whole event, they're saying, organizers are saying, is to provide a platform for connecting educators, right? That's fine. To provide opportunities for building partnerships, well, that's very much there. To empower youth, particularly young professionals, that's also there. But I found the last one interesting: to ideate projects, programs, or campaigns in partnership with participating organizations. Now, I asked you a question just before that: why should we become sustainable, or why should I think of becoming sustainable? I know that the world, even if we don't do anything, if we shut down the whole systems and we hibernate en masse, the world will change, because we have already done enough of that. Right? So it's well acknowledged that even if all human activities are shut down and all human beings hibernate for the next 20 or 30 years also, the world will change, our climate systems and everything is going to change. In that context, why should I bother to take pain to become sustainable? What is the motive that I have? As human beings, there is another genetic problem that we have. As I said, we are wired to be unsustainable. We always choose the path of least resistance. If ever there is, in Hindi it's said patli gili kehte hai na, so patli gili pakad ke nikal jate hai. That means path of least resistance. If I have an easier way out, I'll always do that, and that is human biological rule. Nobody can challenge us on that. So there is no incentive on me to become sustainable. There is no incentive that I drop my car at home, I take a public transport, I go to work. Well, here in that context, well, if there are any rapporteurs here, I would request them to note it as a suggestion from myself. That means on item, specifically on item 4, that means to ideate projects, I am just recommending something called, can we think of something called individual sustainability score? Well, as I said, 20 or 30% of people who are in the urban areas are the most unsustainable guys. So even if we can, what you call, confine it to them and try to ascertain a score. Right now, if you, for example, you know that, well, everyone would have ordered from Swiggy or something, right? So the Swiggy guy will always say that, please give me a good score. That means he has some incentive to asking that. So can we not think of ascribing individual sustainability score? Might be a Mobius Foundation or somebody should take lead, or UNEP, all these people are there. Let them take up the lead. Well, this is just a crude idea. If we think of what you call giving a score, and the score can be fixed in any range. Now that score should be reflected in my professional services. That means if I am tomorrow, I'm going to get an increment, my score should be within this level, or I lose my promotion chances. Then I have a motive to become sustainable. Once you do that, the rest, everything will be taken care of. Everybody will study or learn how to become sustainable. You don't have to teach anybody. That's the way humans are programmed. Right? If you have a need, if you have an urgency, if you have a motive that you should achieve this, we will go and get it done. Otherwise, whatever you teach. But we see so many success stories of what India is full of case studies. In fact, the world is full of case studies, successful case studies. Even Sir M.S. Swaminathan has once, I remember in one of the old speeches, he was saying that if you look at agriculture thesis produced in India and universities, no, every result is perfect. That means every result says that, well, we're going to transform the world, but in effect, nothing happens on the ground. That's a huge problem between the connection part and the real world part. So what I suggest is, if you at least as a part of this small initiative, if you say that we recommend something called individual sustainability score. Now there is no difficulty in doing that. Technology, I'm not dwelling upon the technology part. Technology part is very easy. See, for example, on one side, government is gradually what you call pushing down the hard currency notes, and they're gradually promoting us to use what we call digital currency. So if digital currency is there, it's very easy to know what you are going to buy, what you are buying, where you are buying from, and even your movement can be monitored, how we are moving. It's automated basically. You don't have to do anything to get your digital score, or sorry, sustainability score. Once you have the score, you have to produce, and no, you don't have any right to tamper with that. That is taken as the first criteria for your, say, career advancement, or if it is student, that is a criteria to be taken for college admissions or higher studies, right? So everyone will consciously start following that. I personally believe that is the only solution, because technology, well, if I think I have another session where I can specifically answer to that. There are n number of technological solutions that are available to teach, but who wants to learn? Because as a teacher, I had seen the last couple of years, well, students are sitting or not sitting, and I have no idea about that. Right? Online system, we have the system. The systems were well connected. Well, at least in our university, we have assured 1 Gbps connectivity. Now it's raised to even 4 Gbps connectivity there. So connectivity is not an issue at all, and nobody can say that. But still, what happens? Well, everybody across the world knows that students have lost 2 years. Right? So it is not the lack of technology. We have technological solutions. Madam had said everything. Only thing I think she left out of that is AR and VR, or some of augmented and virtual reality to call mixed reality. Rest all names she had taken. So I personally feel that it's not about technology. It is about bringing the consciousness. And there is a field of science, education within computer science coming up. It's called computer aided persuasion technology. It's there in Stanford University just by 1 or 2 people, but it's coupled with conservation psychology. Now, conservation psychology and captology, that means computer aided persuasion technology. That's what I said. Tomorrow, if I'm going to purchase, and I know that my score, sustainability score, is a criteria for my, say, career progression and all, I will be very conscious on doing whatever my next action will be. So I'll know how to become sustainable, and that's the way I can predict. So sustainability and conservation psychology, we need to understand, or we need to provide some sort of, well, trigger for action, education to be transformative. That's where what conservation psychology addresses. Technology can assist in giving the initial impetus to that by well, something called persuasion technology. See, when you go and buy some things online, you get a lot of what you call request, so you can opt for this product which is cheaper and all. That's also one form of persuasion that you find in Amazon and all. When you select a product, you see other similar products that have come up. So that's a way of showing up. But when you go and when you're about to make a payment to a shop, for example, you have an index of sustainability rating. When I'm about to make a payment to say a supermarket, immediately I'll be alerted that, are you sure you want to make this payment? The sustainability score is low. That will get transferred to my score. I'll just think twice before doing that. Or at least I'll use my father's mobile so that he doesn't have a service thing to count. Right? There are other what you call loopholes even within the system. But having said that, I believe that from starting from the objective 4 that they have given here, it's very easy to climb back from 4.3 to 1 for this conference. With this, I will stop here. I have not told anything about technology per se, but I've told you that technology is not the problem. It is, well, why should I do that? Or what is my incentive to do that? If we can address that, the rest is fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is an excellent recommendation to have individual sustainability score. And we must think of sacrificing our current pleasures for future possibilities. That is, I think, the takeaway of this session. And your talk also reminded of the yesterday what we were hearing about the difference between Shiksha and Vidya. So that is very important for us to consider that what kind of skills are required. So that was really wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. We have our next panelist, Ms. Soumya. Welcome you, ma'am. I give you a brief introduction. Ms. Soumya Sel is a civil servant, revenue officer, working for the government of West Bengal. She has done her BSc and MSc in plant sciences from Presidency University, Kolkata. She got the Best Speaker Award for presenting work at the International Botanical Conference in 2009. She's a former intern at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She has worked in IT as an instructional designer. She trains aspiring civil servant students, and she trained the first batch of Indian engineering service officers in 2019 and 20. She works as educator at An Academy, which is the India's leading online education platform. I'm sure you must have heard about it. So, madam, we look forward to hearing your thoughts on the important subject.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I have been listening very. Can you just let them Thank you, sir. नीचे जाएगा ना F5 मारता आप F5 yes. Yeah, I thought F5 minus. Thank you so much. So hi, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, rather. So I would basically, ma'am, with your kind permission, I would basically, uh, try to figure out where did we go wrong. Like obviously, sir told about the evolutionary part. So I will, deal with a little bit of history, and I will, try to figure out that where did we go wrong and what are the things that we stopped being non-sustainable. So first we should actually talk about the world thing. Like we know that sustainable development or sustainable education is basically a part of the SDG, which is a goal of the UNO. And among the 17 sustainable development goals, quality education falls among the fourth. But before that, as we should mention that we also had got this Millennium Development Goals, and there were some. So that happened in 2000, and that was about to the target year was 2015. But before that, people probably came to know that something is wrong, like it was not totally sustainable, maybe for the women. And most importantly, it was the only thing was to achieve universal primary education. So maybe there are many other education possibilities as well, like adolescent education, and there was no digital thing that was covered. Environmental part was missing out a bit, and gradually we switched on to the sustainable development goals. And as you know that the goal 4, which deals with education, we have many other sub goals into that, the road to sustainability. We are not going into the details with that. So basically, what is sustainability? Sustainability means something which has got a positive impact on very three important things. One is environmental, one is ecological, and one is environmental, economical, and societal. So we should deal whether the digital education, what we are talking about, whether they are able to cover all these three aspects or not. Before going into this, so basically digital education is a very new development, and it boomed in India as well as throughout the world, ESP, after the COVID, when it was our we were basically forced to stay at home and take the help of the digital solutions towards education. But before that, how did the education happen? What was the evolution of education? As we know, like in India, we basically had the evolution of education in a very participatory way. Like when we talk about the Vedic civilization or the Vedic age, it was basically a Shruti kind of education. Like students only used to listen to what their gurus used to say, and they used to recollect or remember or whatever. And gradually, as we move to the next Vedic stage, that is in the Atharva Veda stage, we move to the Smriti, that is we had to remember. So see, there is also a gap here as well, because initially we did not have the solution of writing. Even we only used to
Ma'am, the slides are not moving.
but here
But there,
actually
I
it is
think,
moving. I guess they have an issue there. Here it is moving.
the participants, I'm not able. Can you see? They are not.
Yeah, but here it is moving. वहां पर ये connected नहीं है क्या? Here it is moving, but over there it is. Now again here it is not moving. यहाँ पर नहीं मूव कर रहा है. Oh, they will do ना. Just turn.
Next कर लो.
Okay. Next.
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 Next. बस. Yeah, so it got interrupted. Sorry for the interruption. So here again, as you see that there was a difference between like the students initially just used to hear and remember whatever the teachers used to say, and they used to integrate it to be a part in a sustainable way. Like there were no art of writing, there was nothing, and the students just used to integrate. That's what like ma'am also pointed out, and yesterday also we came to know about the difference between knowledge and learning. So they used to take life and they used to take education, whatever they used to learn from life, that was much more sustainable. And as we moved on gradually in the course of history, we find that again it became a little complicated, it became a little less sustainable, because now we had to literally remember and we had to write down and then we had to apply it to our lives. So see, there was a divide. Initially whatever we were applying to our lives, we were learning, and then whatever we are learning, we are applying to our life. So there is a divide. Okay, so next please. So then gradually, and in that era we did not even have those those traditional education systems and all, but gradually going forward we had got this Vishwavidyalaya and this universities and all that. And next slide please. And as we know, as Indians, we should be proud about that we have the first world-class educational institute, or the first university of the world was in India only, that is the Taxila University. And they had got, obviously, they had got the sustainable, basically we are talking about sustainable development or sustainable education now, but it was actually integrated right back, some like sir told, right back, some 2000 years back, or some even before that. This is basically a BC era, what we are talking about, before Christ. So uh, there were no problems then. They were basically leading their life in a much more sustainable way than we could even think of now. Yes, we did not have digital solutions, but it is also possible that even without, like we are talking about, we are watching about digital solutions, but it's not like that digital solutions are the only way to sustainable education. That's what I was trying to talk about. But there are other ways as well. Next, please. And then we come to the Nalanda University, and in Bengal, we had the Vikramshila and the Uddantapura, Mahavihara, which also had got this sustainable development. And it was not only in India, like people from the world used to come to our country, that we must be proud about, because of that sustainable education that they used to provide, that world-class education that they used to provide to their students. Next, please. Then gradually what happened in the medieval era. Now I'm talking about the positive parts of this education, of the ancient evolution that we had, of the ancient education that we have. So where did we go wrong? We went wrong because it was not sustainable only in one way. The one way was, it was not sustainable for women education. Like our ancient education system, as we talk about, women were not considered to be a part of it. They were not even allowed to talk in Sanskrit or read the Vedas and all that. Even I have heard that the king used to talk to the queen in Prakrit, not in Sanskrit. So this was one where we lagged behind. And gradually, as we moved to the medieval era, there was a gross education system basically took a back seat. And then the colonization happened of India, and then again a massive change happened. So what was a massive change? A massive change was basically, we were basically acquainted with a vernacular system of education, which was kind of very primitive, as we call the Sanatan system of education. When the British government came and India became a part of the colonial empire, so what they wanted to do is, they wanted to infuse a kind of Anglicist idea into our way of thinking, not because they wanted to, uh, you know, share the proper education system to us, but they basically needed some very low paid clerks for helping them in their administration. So then again, there was a divide between the Anglicist and the Orientalist. But however, the vernacular system of education got involved in the primary system, and the Anglicist way or the Western thoughts got involved in the higher education. And then the universities were established, as you know, the Calcutta University. Next, please. Calcutta University, and universities were established throughout India. Gradually, what happened after independence? Next slide, please. Next. So after independence, what happened? As we know that education became a sacrosanct part of our Constitution of India, which basically determines. So initially, now we know that education is now a fundamental right. But before being there in the fundamental right, I guess you have seen that it is 21A. A means basically it was included later on. It was not there initially when this constitution came into existence. Initially, it was involved as a directive principles of state policy. But because, so what does it mean? Directive principles of state policy means, next please, next slide. So in Article 45, it is stated that the provision of free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14 years within 10 years of promulgation of this constitution. But then again, because it was directive principle, so if a particular state was not giving its words, that particular primary education, it could not be enforced in the court of law, or it no one could make a case against a particular state that they are not doing the proper thing. That is the reason why it was basically included as a fundamental right in our constitution, catering to Article 21A, that the state is bound to provide education to children. And now, is only the responsibility of the state. Shall not the parents be also responsible for providing fundamental education? So that is the reason why it also became a part of the fundamental duty pertaining to Article 51A Part K. Who is a parent or guardian should provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be, what between the age of 6 and 14 years. So now we have basically education in all the three parts, three basic parts of our constitution: fundamental right, fundamental duties, as well as the directive principles of state policy. But even after that, we have got several loopholes. Next, please. While we entered the millennium, first we have, that. So what were the loopholes? The loopholes, like I told, for an education system or for anything to become sustainable, three important things needs to be covered. One is the ecological part, the economical part, and the societal part. But all these three things were not covered in the education system what we are pertaining to. For that, the government of India, they rolled out this Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, that is education for all, based on this the education being a fundamental right of everybody. Next, please. And gradually, as ma'am has also pointed out, we also have got a dedicated satellite for our education system, to reach to the, to cater to the needs of even the rural areas and the urban chaos and all that. And all these things happens at the block level, so that the education is catered to the needs of the poorest of poor to the children, maybe in the rural areas, and that happened in 2004. Then in 2005, 15, we have the Digital India Initiative. So there we had a revolution basically in the education system, not only in education but throughout, in many other system, in all the system of administration, in all the pillars of administration. This digital gap was basically meted out. Next, please. Then in 2000, like ma'am had already pointed out, we had the Swam Prabha, where we have this dedicated DTH channels. Like, you can just, it is by the Ministry of HRD now, which is the Ministry of Education. So we have 32 dedicated high quality education channels through free dish of Doordarshan, as well as other channels through the system, where the students can easily go, and this could actually help to, decrease the digital divide, because we have a basic problem here that the needs of the children in the rural areas and the needs of the children in the urban areas or the city areas are very, very different. For a child who is taking education in an urban area or a city area, for him or her, these things are very normal. Without this, he cannot even think of a day without computer or without laptop or something. But to these people, like I have also been the nodal officer of the Kanyashi program, which has also got the award from UNESCO sometime back in like 2018 or something like that. 2000, yes, 2018. So I have basically worked with students who do not have any idea about all these. Even the government allowance which they are given to them, they use it for, for getting married. They don't use it for education. Government. So basically, Kanyashi is a program where it will be free for the girl child, and it is basically a another form of the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao program, which is from the center. So that is, in West Bengal, it is called the Kanyashi program, where they had whatever allowance they were given for the education, they have just used it for their marriage. So, even though we are trying to educate the population, like it was pointed out yesterday, that we should be collective. I mean, we should be receptive of the education. Unless and until we think that we are prone to take this education, no one can actually make that change. No one can actually make us resilient. Next, please. Then we have the Diksha portal, which is again a free learning platform. So 2017, 2018, 2019, there were a lot of initiatives from the government to actually penetrate digital education into the system. ESP for those people, in the rural areas who did not have got access to all this digital education, etc. Next, please. And then, and in 2019, we also had got a Vidya Dan, where many content by the CBSE were basically made online, and it was made free of cost to all the users. Next, please. And then finally came in 2000. After 2019, we had this COVID divide. Then again, we had a massive evolution of education, of digital systems, because everybody was sitting at home. Now, again, we have, we should discuss a little bit about the society. So a child who is sitting in an urban area or a city area and taking online classes, but we know in rural area that 2 years were totally lost. We did not have any anything like the people who used to come to the school to have meals. only to have this midday meals. How will they afford a 4G connection? They don't even have a smartphone. So basically, this 2 years, no matter how much we say we have been able to provide digital education and all, but not, I'm sorry to say, for the rural areas, the 2 years, it was a most vulnerable year, because most of the times they had to go back to their alcoholic father. They had to see, and schools were basically a safe haven for them, where at least for 6 7 hours they could be outside all those household issues. You can't imagine, while I was also the nodal officer for the midday meal scheme. I will just like to share a very small story. I had seen a girl. So I used to go for inspection to the schools and all. Thursday, I guess eggs were given. So there was this schedule of the different meals that were given on different days. So Thursday or Wednesday, I don't remember, eggs were given to those children. And I could see a girl. She used to take the eggs in her underwear and run back home. So first day, first 2 days, I did not tell her anything. The third day, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you carrying the eggs to your home? So she told, ma'am, if I don't carry the eggs to my home, my mom will beat me. I don't know why. Because she has a 1 year old brother who needs the eggs. Matlab, because she is a female child, she is not allowed to have the luxury of taking eggs. But if her brother is not getting the egg, then her mother will beat her. So we are basically running in a system where we are thinking high, we are talking about digital things, we are talking about sustainability, but we have not yet done that groundwork, which could actually take that digital, which could actually integrate that digital education into itself. For example, even when we are talking about sustainable, I'm just deleting this digital part. If we are talking about sustainable education, with due permission, ma'am, we should also talk about things that only a woman would face, like menstrual hygiene and all, which is a very important part of Kanyashri. People don't even know why do this menses happen and how important it is in their lives. And we are talking about digital education. People don't even use sanitary pads. People in Madhya Pradesh, in tribal areas, I have seen, I have worked with them. I have worked with women who only use maybe ghas fools as pads. We could not believe that they could lead to serious issues, they could lead to loss of lives. And we are talking about digital education for the people who cannot even afford a 4G. Leave about 4G, they don't even get food, they don't even get that basic thing. So I believe that digital education should not only just providing courses and all to schools, but it should actually integrate deep into the society. First, to get rid of all the social issues. We can talk about environment, obviously, but first let a man or a woman to survive. We don't even have those survival things. People don't even know how to survive. People eat maybe one meals a day. Specifically this COVID thing. Next slide, please. So as we see that this was, the world, some calculations that were made, 263 million children and youth are out of school. People who are out of school, how can we think of getting them integrated into the digital platform? 14% of youth and just 1% of poorest of girls, just 1% of poorest girls can complete secondary education in low income countries. Just 1%. Can we believe that? Just 1% of poorest girls. We still have this gender divide. Unless and until we bring girls and guys to the same platform, how can we integrate this digital thing in, equal to all? I have no idea. 35% of out of school children live in conflict affected areas. Think about Syria. I'm not talking only about India, I'm also talking about the conflict areas, about vulnerable areas, about war torn countries, about Afghanistan. How can we think about digital education if all these problems are not meted out first? Next slide, please. This was a staggering impact on global education like we have, and we can see 1.38 billion of children were affected by COVID. Matlab, this is not my data, this is the data provided by UNESCO. Next slide. So this was all the staggering impacts that our children, of all the vulnerable groups that they faced. Academic impacts, like for basically the children affected were, from the age group 4 to 18. So they were diagnosed with a learning disability, because half of the children in specifically rural areas, they just go to the classes. Half of them, they do not. I have even seen there is this school where we have got just one teacher. We do not even have teachers recruited to the proper numbers, to the proper level, or to the proper academic background. He does not know maths, he does not know English. I mean, and maybe in a paper of Bengal, in a local paper of Bengal, I have seen this news that the maths teacher who has been appointed does not know maths, but the cook was actually teaching maths in the school. I mean, seriously, and we are talking about digital education. We do not even have the background to integrate. First, we should integrate education, then sustainability, and then maybe digital, because digital would come much much later. We do not even have the avenues for education, we do not have food, we do not have proper societal things, and we are talking about it. Don't I basically believe it's a luxury for a country like India. Simple as that. Mental effects also they had for the children. They had got a retarded diagnosed no disorder, because they are seeing their father is beating up their mother, maybe maybe in a very vulnerable way or whatever. They just live in one room, and they maybe have some 2 3 children, and they are seeing their father is beating up their mother, doing some kind of torture, and they had to see right in front of their eyes. Just imagine a girl or a boy of 5 years of age not going to school, just he or she has to sit back during COVID and watching this every time. For the physical impacts, obviously, because they did not meet. Obviously the physical impact will happen because they are not getting the proper diet, they are not getting the midday meal food and all. So these things happen. So unless and until we get rid of all these things, I do not believe that we can actually talk about the integration of digital system, at least in the education system of India. Next slide, please. Yeah, then finally, thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister, that he took some steps and he actually made this digital education free so that it could integrate within, the rural areas. Though I have not basically included it, but in the national education policy, this digital education was a very, very sacrosanct part. Next, please. And then we have, as Ma'am had properly pointed out, we had also got this e-Vidya program where top 100 universities will start online courses. And gradually, we are just thinking of integrating and of pertaining to the needs of the most vulnerable sections of the society. But I believe that we should take one step at a time. Next slide, please. So this is basically the PME Vidya program, which ma'am had already pointed out, by means of radio, by means of community. So it's not like that we can only integrate digital education through 4G only. We can also integrate, we can cater to the needs of the maximum amount of people, even by radio. At least they can at least, I guess, afford a radio, or even by TV or any such digital device. Next slide, please. Then we have got EPG Pachala. So this is not only for this rural, but also for the postgraduate courses. Next slide, please. Next. So yeah, so now we can like talk a little bit about sustainability. Like once it has, if it happens, like all these issues of society pertaining to economy, gender gap, gender divide, everything, and now we come to a society, we dream of a society where everything is being meted out and we are on the same platform. There is no gender divide, there's no age divide or whatever. Then we can actually talk about transforming to a more digital way of life, because anyways it would like I told, that environment sustainability is also a very important part. So once we cater to these needs, the most important thing, we should also talk about the positive impacts as well, is that the ecological thing will be it will be taken care of, because the classrooms and the furniture and paper, most importantly the cost of the paper, the printing of the paper, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of it gives a negative carbon footprint on the environment as well. Next slide, please. So this is India is basically going on a positive way, because more learners are actually, and basically because I'm also a part of an academy. So at certain parts, I guess this is also important, because for example, I still remember while I was preparing for the UPSC, while I was preparing for IS, there were many learned teachers whom it was not possible for me to go to Gujarat or to go to Delhi and access their classes. So it was like, I could access their classes through YouTube. So we basically, need to, what I believe, that we basically need to cater to different sections of people. For some sections of people where the digital integration is very easy, that particular way of life, and for certain people for whom getting food is itself a luxury, that should cater in a different way. Next slide, please. So this we will basically discuss. So there is a possibility of the e-learning boom in India because there's a rapid growth of internet connectivity and improvement in the internet speed, and we can also the 4G data smartphone penetration has also happened very fast. Most importantly, the government is really taking care of this e-learning government policies and then sensitizing there are many educational startups. This ed startups has already boomed in a very different way after 2020, including Byju's, including an academy, and including many other such edtech platforms which are really providing quality education. But then again, I believe that even for this edtech, it also becomes their social responsibility to cater to the needs of this disadvantaged class, to go to their homes and to provide benefits, to provide free tuitions, to provide free online devices. So that is also their social responsibility, which I believe the government can talk to them. Next. And for example, the gender gap I was talking about, we need to have this gender responsive policies, and we need to integrate it into the budget. We do not have, I don't think that we have a separate gender sensitive policies in the budget as of now. So that is very important that we also include it into our budget, and we earmark a particular amount for this women driven policies. Access and connectivity to digital technologies by girls, promote gender responsive digital teaching and learning. And not only, like yesterday Poonam ma'am told, it's not only the responsibility of the girls to know about themselves, but it's also the responsibility of the boys to know about the girls and to respect the way they are. Create safe and digital learning environments as well as work with communities. Next slide, please. And these are all the benefits. I guess sir and ma'am had already told about this much before. And so I guess thank you so much. This is all we had to talk about.
Thank you, madam. That was really eye-opener. And we could see our journey of education since Vedas to the ancient universities and now to the digital things that we are seeing today. And definitely this has created, and we have seen that how social aspect is very important, and education, howsoever digital you make it, but there will be certain sections who will be left out. There is an information obesity nowadays where we have a lot of information, but careful screening of that information is very, very essential. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really nice. So we have our last panelist with us, Dr. V. Venkatramanan, who happens to be the faculty in environmental studies at School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies at IGNOU. He is coordinating the program on climate change, that is postgraduate certificate in climate change, and has been associated with MSc Environmental Sciences program. I must say that he has a lot of publications. He is being invited at so many conferences to present his work. And we are really honored, sir, that you accepted our invitation to be with us and speak on the topic of digital solutions at one hand and sustainability at another hand. Please, sir.
Hello. Well, it was interesting listening to all the panelists. In fact, if you look at it, each and every panelist talked about one aspect. I'll just mention that for a few minutes so that I'll build upon what they spoke. In fact, few take-home messages required when you attend the seminar. That's what Dr. Diksha was also talking about it. Already she said one take-home message, remaining we'll try to give it. So the first point is that when you look at the first speaker, Professor Sachisha, she talked about the technology aspect. Okay, it is interesting because we need to have some certain technology to achieve the goal. The goal is education. Education is a social change, Professor Jaishankar said, because that's what everyone, starting from Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, everyone is talking about the education as a social agent. Okay, that's a key aspect we need to look at it, because this digitization, or for that matter, a tool, 4.0, she said, that is a tool for bringing in a change in the society. Okay, and the third important aspect is the madam was talking about the challenges. She put it in a way that gender issue is a prime important thing. It's a truly important aspect in order to achieve the sustainability. Or in other words, it's a challenge, a kind of a barrier. So to put it, all the three speakers in a nutshell, if you look at it, one is talking about the challenges in terms of the societal challenges, the gender aspect, the planetary aspect, the earth as a system, or for that matter, a lot of issues we are facing. As a human being, we're facing a lot of issues. And in order to achieve or address these challenges, we need an education that is sustainable education. And in other words, if we wanted an education, that education, sustainability of education is also required. There are two things out there, because when you look at the things, the sustainable education, education for sustainability is different and sustainable education is different. So the question here is that we can, but through an education, we can address the challenges, and that includes the gender as well. And that is the reason why, if you look at it last decade, particularly, many important watershed developments has taken place. One important thing is that the global agenda, that what you call the SDG 17 goals are there, sustainable development goals. And when you look at the sustainable development goals, every challenge has been incorporated very well, all the 17 goals, and also the ways to achieve the goals. And one important ways is education, or in other words, capacity building. And that is the reason why, if you look at it in the last decade, whatever the conference, the important things, the main important aspect is capacity building, whether it is a Paris Agreement or your what you call global agenda, world global agenda. The capacity building is important thing, and that is the perspective for today's conference. What is the perspective? The perspective is that in front of us, a lot of challenges are there. How to achieve the challenges? We need to have certain transformative, disruptive technologies, and that disruptive technology is your digital part. Okay, why? Because in a cost-effective manner, in a much effective manner, we can reach to the public. And Madam was rightly talking about a divide. One madam was talking about the digital divide, the other madam was talking about the rural and urban divide. But however, there is a divide, but this digital education can provide a solution, and we need to capitalize on that solution. Yes, there is a lot of problem in front of us, but still, this can bring in a change. Rural environment, it's very difficult to manage their livelihood also, understand. But at the same time, we need to take a step forward, and that step forward is digital education. And she also rightly said that it's not only digital education can help, it has to be blended with the traditional aspect also. Very nicely, she made a pyramid kind of thing from Pathshala. It's a wonderful aspect, of course. She was just trying to climb the ladder, right? So in a way, to put it another way, simple words, that digital education is having a lot of potential. Understood, the digital. And I'll take up the example because Dr. Diksha also introduced me talking about climate change, because when you talk about sustainable education or sustainability, sir was talking about sustainability. They put it in a simple way, and he wonderfully explained. He just took back to 3,000 years, or in other words, he wanted to bring in how the transformation has taken place because of an agriculturist. Well, since 10,000 years, if you look at it, the man started looking at the agriculture to till the land, and a lot of changes has brought in. And key point is that the kind of change human beings has brought in the last 3 centuries is enormous. It is quite tangible. When I say quite tangible, 3/4 of the land, whatever we are talking about, 2/3, everything has been changed. Land use has been changed, and agriculture has played an important role. And this agriculture, incidentally, madam is also from plant sciences, sir is also from agriculture, and of course, I'm also from agriculture. So in a point that this land use change or agriculture, I'll take it as a kind of a reference point, so that we'll give a solution, because that's the 2 objectives there. One, I'm just going through the objective. One is to find out the, the digital solutions, right, sir? That's an objective. And the second is that what a kind of measures we can say. That's what the 2 objectives of this today's session. So now coming to climate change and the topic, when you talk about sustainability, our existence is questioned. Existence of human beings is questioned because of many challenges. And one important challenge is climate change, and it is a very, very important challenge because it is going to have a cross-cutting effects. Madam is talking about gender. Everything will be influenced by climate change. So in a way, what we need to take into account is that by adopting a solution, that solution must have co-benefits. Okay. Since last decade, what we are talking about is that we should look for the multiple benefits or co-benefits. For example, if you address the issue of education, Madam rightly said Article 21A and Article 51 AG, that is the fundamental duty she was talking about. Because by addressing this education, we'll be achieving what? The livelihood issues. We can bring in women empowerment. We can address the issues of societal issues also, education related issues also. And she rightly talked about the health issues related with women, and that can be addressed by education. So by addressing one issue, we're getting multiple benefits. The same is case with the climate change. Okay, so since this climate change is going to affect every aspect of human beings, why not? And it is will be affecting the sustainability also. So when you talk about sustainability, it's a kind of an abstract idea. What exactly sustainability is? It's a big question mark. That's about why we need sustainability. That's what he started asking, why we need sustainability. My point here is that we will be addressing the sustainability because that is a kind of an abstract idea. What is best to the earth? What is best to the organism? How best you can make the earth as a self-sustaining system. I'm just going back to 3 or 4 decades back, because there is a concept called earth is a self-sustaining system. It's rightly said, because when I say self-sustaining, because we will not be bringing in any kind of changes in the ecological system. We wanted to minimize the imbalances, and for that education is required. Getting my point? Not only for addressing the challenges, we wanted to bring in kind of a balance in the earth system. Okay, how best? Now we'll go to the solution. And the solution is that because most important thing is the issue of bringing in this. Sir was very nicely presented about the sustainability score at the individual level. I'll just take it forward. Not only at the individual level, at a community level, why can't we bring in sustainability score? Whether your community is working on that lines, sustainability line. So here I'll still further community to the organization, university, schools. Sir was talking about the school level. So why not bringing a kind of a green school concept? University, make this university as a sustainability thing. So bring in a kind of auditing, energy auditing. What? So you are making not only from individual level, through a line, through the organization, you're bringing in kind of a attitudinal change within the human beings. That is what is more important is that, so we were talking about the 7 generations. If you bring in an attitudinal change with the human beings, then only we can be achieved. And that will be possible if you bring in this kind of changes from school level or individual level to the organization level. Okay, and the second important thing is that to achieve these kind of things, along with the technology, we need partnership. Because at certain circumstances, we will not be this digital technology cannot be helpful, because if you look at it in the rural area where the finance is a critical issue, their livelihood is a critical issue, so they cannot afford for this thing. So in that case, can you bring in a change through an agent? Learning by doing. Can you bring in a change through an agent? I'm saying certain kind of an active participant. When, for example, instead of going to each and every one, why not you bring in kind of a group leader kind of thing? So you train those people and send them. It's not a new concept. It's a very old concept. Training and visit system, 1970s. Okay, you are training certain group person, and that particular person will go to that rural area and he will bring in a change. So in a kind of, you'll be having a snowballing effect, sir. Getting my point? So this is the second take-home message I wanted to give. Getting my point? And third important point is that when we talk about the last decade, whatever policies, whatever things we are doing it should be a kind of cutting across the the boundaries. People use the words like transdisciplinarity and many things and all. But I am using a kind of a partnership or a kind of a connectivity, kind of a vision which can help the people and take them along. Whatever you want to do, you take them along. Make it a more of an integrated thing. So then only we'll be making the things possible. When I say integrated, this also is important. Not only digital, you go along with the traditional aspect. And when you talk about education, sustainable education, education along with bringing the principle of sustainability also. Getting my point? And wonderful aspect, because we wanted to achieve sustainable education, how best we can do it. So when you talk about, I'll take the example of a climate change also. So when you talk about climate change, already people have talked about the virtual labs and everything, because I cannot repeat the same thing. But put it in other words, in simple words, because this climate education also can be made, more effective, by bringing kind of a simple technology. We have a mobile phone. So this mobile phone can be used for transforming the information. And that has been, in the Indo-Gangetic brain, it has been proved, by using your mobile phone, using a simple mobile phone, not smartphone, simple mobile phone, the weather information can be passed on to the people, the farmers. Mobile technology. And by giving that, I'm just giving a wonderful example, sir. And particularly, sir is from Maharashtra, I'll give a second example also. And this particular thing from Indo-Gangetic brain, I'm giving the weather information. I'm giving the weather information to the farmers. What steps they need to take it? What kind of the technology they have to adopt? What kind of seed? All the things from agriculture technologies. So that information is passed on to the farmers. Understood? Through your mobile phones. And from the farmers to the scientist, backward, from field to the lab. There was some last decade, I believe. So there was an organism, I'm not mentioning the scientific name, I think it's Spodoptera litera. It's an organism, because it has attacked completely the Maharashtra belt, that the cotton belt, soybean belt. So from what the farmers, what they did, they from the farm, they took the pictures from the field, and they will transfer the information to the nearest regional station, research station. And here also technology has helped. That has brought in a lot of changes. And because of that thing, a timely intervention through any kind of measures, biological measures, that has helped the farmers. So you're getting by the simple concept. The former is called the climate village concept. The later one, I was talking about the pest management. It is basically a new, but it's not a new concept. Last decade, it has been implemented. So what the point, the clear point is that definitely if you adopt these kind of things, because it's having multiple benefits. When you go for digital thing, it's having multiple benefits. So we can bring in a lot of changes among the humanity. That's what the key thing I wanted to say. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was very informative. And it is true that agriculture we can reform with the help of technology. And same way for disaster prediction and energy nexus, we can take the help of technology and address some of the issues related to sustainability. So thank you, panelists. Now, if there are any questions, any comments, otherwise, I have many questions.
So after having heard all the panelists, I was unlucky that I couldn't attend yours because I had to go for an official work, but otherwise. So what I could see here is that only one true learning from this is that if you do not know the history of what somebody has achieved before, you're bound to reinvent the same thing. So the courses, the e-Vidya, the portals, the Dikshas are all tried and tested, and it's of that scale. It's just that the reach of these things we get to know from the conferences such as this. Otherwise, as like one of the ma'ams said, it is information obesity. So you got out a very good point of whatever has been done in the past, so that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Use the same mechanism, and with the latest technology in place, you can scale it. Of course, customize it first, not just as a delivery mechanism, but addressing the issues of all the challenges like gender divides and stuff like that, and then take people along as what he says. So it was very informative, though I belong to an IT domain. Like a holistic 360-degree view gets me motivated more. Thanks for that.
So there are no questions from the audience. I would just like to ask a few questions to our panelists. Shachi ma'am, first of all, I would like to ask you, as Soumya ma'am directly talked about the social divide, and the digital technology does not really reach to most of the learners, as she said. So in that aspect, IGNOU aspires to be the people's university. It is a people's university. And do you think that the university is making enough efforts to see that these kind of social barriers do not come into the way? I mean, in a nutshell, I can say that what IGNOU proposes to do to solve this issue.
IGNOU, if you see the target populations is different. It is not only for the fresh graduate, but it is also providing education for the people who, for certain reason, they have the break in their education, or they could not complete their degree. The time, like for normal master's degree, if it is 2 year, IGNOU give them time frame as 4 years. So when we say about the opportunity to complete their education, the IGNOU is playing very important role. The first thing is which we provide the learners is a self-learning material. There are multiple mode by which we provide the education. One is self-learning material, that is the material where the teacher is inbuilt. When you are reading the study material, it is like in a very simple language, in a very informative and directive way, so that the teacher, as you will feel while reading the material, that teacher is inbuilt, so you will not feel the presence of the teacher. The second important thing is that the education is provided by the multiple way, like I was telling that Swayam Prabha channel or Gyan Darshan channel or Gyan Vani channel. These are the 5-6 channel where 24/7 the educational resources are being telecast. So like ma'am was saying, in many rural area, yes, I agree that they are not having sufficient resources for mobile, for laptop, but for the student who wanted to complete their education through only by normal TV without any Airtel or any other connection, they can complete their education. Like I'll give you an example. Yesterday itself, a faculty development program was launched on new education policy. The program was, there were many, it is totally online program. Many videos have been recorded by all the education minister, UGC chairperson, and it was launched. And the target group was 15 lakh learners, and more than 30 teachers have enrolled for our FDP on new education policy. This program was also through online. Likewise, there are many MOOCs. I was telling, there are 151 MOOCs we are offering. The total number of enrollment in these MOOCs are more than, I mean, the number is in lakhs. In each and every course, there are more than 2,000 students are enrolling in each and every batch. So as far as the need for learners is, we may not be able to offer the education to everyone, but the IGNOU is trying to reach through its innovative education's policy or innovative program to each and every nook and corner of India. So there were few like eVidya, eGyan Kosh, IRC, all these programs the learner can see at his own convenience, at any of the device, whether it is in mobile, laptop, TV, and he or she can complete her education. So in that way, IGNOU is trying to provide.
Thank you. Good to know the initiatives. My next question is to Professor Jay Shankar ji. Sir, you come from a digital university, and that makes us curious to know that what initiatives for sustainability and in particular sustainability education, what does the university?
Well, thank you. Well, the digital university per se is 100% a physical university. We believe that the university has been catered or caters for a digital era. Our primary goal is to see that we leverage the capabilities or the possibilities that are offered by digital technologies in all spheres, not only in what you call IT or information technology. We have an entire spectrum of programs that is running around. We also cater to see that as a university, if we are physically present at one place, it's our responsibility to develop the societies that immediately that are in the immediate vicinity. Well, if we can't develop societies that are adjacent to our campus, well, we cannot be a university there, no, because then we are talking about the global things there. So that is another thing. And every student who comes into the digital university, we try to inculcate the value of sustainability right from day one. Now, this is done basically through a specific program that's called the University Core Program that every student has to take. As soon as a student comes, well, ours is a postgraduate university. We don't have UG things. The numbers are much restricted. Every student will have to go, and a digital access community awareness program is there. That means as a student comes in for any program, the first week he or she spends with some community, understands a problem. Remember, this is the first entry point. We don't expect the students to be digitally savvy or something. We forcefully send them out. We help them to be involved in some communities in the vicinity of the university. They go, they identify their problems, they come back. Now, after first semester, when they start the second semester, they have to develop some what you call digital experience laboratory. That means that's a time when they have to analyze the problem that they have studied, put it up in some digital systems, and evaluate, or for what you call see how the futuristic opportunities there exist. That means that's a digital experience laboratory they're building. And by end of third semester, that means, sorry, as they start the third semester, they should produce, or they should come out with some digital solutions to the challenges which they identified in the first semester. So it's a continuous program split as 3 university courses across 3 semesters. Now, this is how we try to, otherwise there are sustainability education and all those things are generally embedded in the program. But specifically, we forcefully make the students go and be mixed with the communities there, interact, gain physical experience, come back and give digital solutions to that. Might be out of around 300 students who come in every year, even if there are 30 good solutions, that's worth. Of which even if 3 get implemented, that really be transformative. Now, coming specifically to what we do in ecological informatics, well, we try to understand ecology, as you rightly said, from a pure physical point of view, because we believe that everything that we see around, well, it has a physical basis behind it. We don't see ecology as an ecological entity. We try to understand what are the ramifications of that. And based on that, as you said, we stumbled upon some very, what you call crazy ideas, which I don't think this is a good forum to explain those things. That's the end of the story here.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Soumyaji, you told us so much about gender imbalances in the society. And yes, we are optimistic for digital education in the times to come, howsoever be the challenges. Do you think that in the times to come, when we promote digital education, the gender discriminations can be ward off?
See, before warding of the gender discrimination. Hello. Yeah, so basically before warding of the gender discrimination, we basically need to do much more groundwork. We basically need to, integrate these days we are talking about moving to total digital education and all that. But before that, I believe that digital education should be a part of formal education systems like that Sanatan education and all that. And it should not only be classroom based, it should be much more innovative. It should come from within, like it was pointed out yesterday by Professor Sarabhai.
Yeah.
So it should be integrated in such a way that this digital divide is the gap, or the divide is being meted out. Like, it should come from within, and it should be more of a learning process. It should be outside of the classroom only, not exactly inside classroom, but it should be much more innovative and maybe in the form of excursion. Maybe, for example, I'm just giving you a small example. Like in the history books, whenever we learn about Ajanta Ellora caves, we have this thing of, I wish I could see it in front of my eyes. So even if it is not possible to just carry out an excursion at that point of time, we can at least cater to the needs by showing a digital video online or something like that. And that is the reason how we can actually, even if we are not being able to cater to every house, but maybe at least one kiosk center should be at least at the block level or at least at the school, so that these school drops out, I guess, should also be checked out, because they would also become much more interested in education, be it a girl or be it a boy. Even when we are talking about menstrual hygiene, if we actually, like we did, I have personally done it, so I basically made them a video about how do this menses occur and what is they should be proud of this thing, because they are able to create a life. And this is when they got so much intrigued about it, basically the girl child. So this is how I believe that at the block level, at least if we have one kiosk center where we could teach them in a digital way, and initiatives have also to be made by the government at the ground level work, then I surely believe that there must be a day when we would be able to uh, mitigate this gender issues and this digital divide. But there are a lot of things to do actually. Better we are talking, we are discussing it in a very simple way, but a lot of groundworks really needs to be done to ward off health issues, to ward off gender issues, to ward off food issues and all. Then I believe that the truest sense of that knowledge or that vidya could be integrated, and we could also bring in the guys and the girls to the
Rightly said, agree to this point that there are hidden curriculums of technology also. So that must be kept in mind. Dr. Venkat, I was keenly listening to you when you were telling about the farmers' interceptions of technology. And, I'm curious to know that, yes, you have rightly said that in case of a crop failure, or in case of any disaster or any insect pest taking place, we can take the help of technology and talk to the concerned departments on that. So can it be the other way around? Can we, instead of curative, can the preventive kind of an approach can be taken up to guide the farmers for seed and the selections and weed control and other things for with the help of course, digital means?
So this is very interesting. One liner is prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
So when she was talking about prevention is better than cure, we are dealing with certain ecosystem, man-made ecosystem. So when you go for any agricultural activities, basically, it requires you're subsidizing the system. You wanted all the inputs to be, more amenable, and it should not have any kind of problems. That's what you said. So in this case, what happened in you can have a what you call village centric or a district centric, and information can be provided before they go for farming. That is one thing is possible, and this is very well there in the system, because of the what you call the extension professionals, they do it. So that's what they're doing it. But even then also certain eventualities are there. When no one expects, sir was talking about it's 100 days, monsoon June to September. No one knows that when it will be doing it. Kind of a lot of variabilities come into picture now. When earlier also it was there, now the variability is increasing. Year after year it is increasing. So we are not in a position to predict it. Who expected a heavy downpour in Bangalore?
Yeah.
So it was so difficult to that. Now what we need to talk about it, we need to make the system more resilient.
Can I just
Yeah,
interrupt? Before talking about the downpour in Bangalore, who had expected so much humidity in Delhi? That is the most important thing. We are sitting in Delhi. I guess we did not really expect so much of humidity in Delhi as well.
So a lot of variations, a lot of variability that is taking place. In that case, how to manage it? The question is how to manage it. So why not you make the system, make the farmers more resilient, to make them more independent, or in other words, make them act against these kind of things. I'm trying to make them more adaptive. Buffering capacity, increase the buffering capacity. If they are diversifying, because for example, you said agriculture. In addition to agriculture, if their income is diversified, they have for multiple things. If they're getting, at least they'll get some kind of a benefit. That's thing possibility is done. It's done.
Thank you. So with this, we end this session. My thanks to the audience for patient listening, and heartfelt thanks to all the panelists, Professor Shachi Shah, Professor Jayashankar, Ms. Soumya, and Dr. V. Venkatramanan. Thank you so much. There is a tea break and the tea is ready in the lobby. Huh?
So you have the West Bengal